Why wouldn't that Ryu just go down? Oh, man. So today, once again, we get to step into the mind of madness. And today, I'm switching it up a little. So yesterday was a very unproductive day in the fact that we tried to make something new for Amber, and she's just way too comfortable with the team that we've made for her already. So we're stepping away from that. Apparently, Amber doesn't like my train being on the rails and wants to derail me today. So what we ended up coming up with yesterday, we'll just play it on the screen very briefly. If I still have it up, I do. All right, so I had hypothesized the idea of a cosmic team involving a Star Fox, Moondragon, Lockjaw with a Mjolnir and a Mangog on the team with some points left over to kind of look at. Amber was not comfortable with that, and as a result, she is going to continue with the team that she has been playing, which is a 50-point Fast versus Hulk, the Prime Red Leader, and what else? A Space Michelangelo, a Surtur, and a 100-point Carnage. So she's playing off of my obsession that I had just prior to Canadian Nationals with Carnage. Shh. Quiet over there. Work out. She's supposed to be exercising. She's bothering me. Wants to include herself in the show. Be on the camera or be on the bike. I kid. Her input is welcome whenever I want it. Or it is asked for. Anyway, so because we're at a bit of a standstill right now as far as creativity for me, I'm between either my monster or my ruler theme team. And before we get too deep into this, I am closing the books on Giganto on the monster theme team. Too many people are asking me about it. We're done with it. He's not going to be on the team. He's cool, but I don't think he does quite as well as Carnage does, in my opinion. So we're gonna move on from that. Now, what I did yesterday was I said I was going to put a post on Facebook and accept any suggestions on characters. If we were going to talk about why or why we wouldn't use them in competitive play. Just, go over the thought process and the considerations. Now, I'm not going to completely crap on characters, all right? I'm going to explain myself as to why. There are a couple reasons in a lot of cases where the initial thought is, what can I do with that points better, right? Sorry, it takes a long day of work, and then I got to come and do this. So I'm trying to get through some energy drink to keep myself alive here. So I apologize that you have to watch me drink a little when I'm on the show. It's also a little solo, so trying to keep active is a bit of a challenge. I do also want to kind of go over the less Heroclixy part of my day, which of course involves some Street Fighter. This will not be the show. Street Fighter happens to be the game I'm playing right now, and we'll talk about what games I'm playing in general as part of this. I'm doing fairly well when I'm playing Guile. Anytime I step away from Guile in Street Fighter 5, I am losing immediately. I'm still losing games with Guile. I'm not perfect. I'm not great. I'm not fantastic. I'm in Bronze League and losing to Super Bronzes, and a guy used my dead corpse to go into Super Bronze League. So, yeah, that's right. There is a Bronze, Super Bronze, and Ultra Bronze League. Actually, that's why a guy used my corpse to get into Ultra Bronze League. So, good on you, buddy. You're a better Bison than I am a Guile. So I think that's actually a hard counter situation based on the way he was playing it. Either that or I'm just bad, and I got to figure out my way around it, get my EX up better. In addition to which, I've been fiddling around with some magic decks. When I'm not playing Heroclix, I tend to fiddle around with magic cards. One thing you'll notice sometimes is if you see me with cards in my hand, I'm often doing this. In fact, I even do it with my team sometimes. If opponent isn't asking for my cards, I'm flipping around through cards. These are all empty sleeves, actually, and this is a bad example, but I'll have a couple cards on hand to fiddle with. One of my calming things is sorting cards, which is why I love the sorting aspect of a brand new set of Heroclix. I'm going through the cards, I'm figuring them all out, and I just like the idea of fiddling. Again, this is all that kind of thing where it's just, this is a thing I do. And it's pretty easy to say in some kind of self-diagnosis that I have ADHD, but I won't blame that, nor will I assume that until I get an actual medical professional to tell me that that is the case. Because, you know, that's how you do that in life. You get a medical professional to tell you have a medical problem of some sorts. All right. So as I said, on facebook.com/madewithclicks, I open up a post. I will address some of them in the chat as well. This one might end up being a little longer than expected or quicker than expected. I don't know. But if I do go quick, then we'll just add some extra teams to the old library, as it were, or to the brain busting. All right. So without further ado, let's get to it. And let's just start right off with, you know, it'd be better if I actually was prepared for this. Here we go. Now, some of you guys put down teams. I might address them later on, but that's later Jason's problem. All right. So we're going to start with the first one, and that was Jay Sly wants to talk about the new Batman, the Batman mech. Now, I'm not sure what the hell he's talking about because there's two mechanical Batman things out there right now. So Jay Sly, if you're watching, please let me know, either Commissioner, are we talking about the Commissioner Gordon Batman, or are we talking about the Batbot? Because the Batbot has been seen. I have run some ideas on it, and I have considered some things with it. So that is not out of the question. In fact, one of the things I was mulling around with that figure was surrounding the what's the word I'm looking for? Green Arrow, because he's a giant and there's not a lot of people who can carry with the Gotham City keyword. And the idea, the thought process is getting Green Arrow forward is tricky, but if you want to maintain a Gotham City themed team, you can use this the Batbot to carry with him. So that was one of the thought processes I had. In addition to which, it's a giant ramming robot that's got stats way beyond what it deserves. But of course, it's got the flaw of being con exclusive winnable. I will try to define between con exclusive winnable and con exclusive buyable. A con exclusive buyable is you know, you walk up to the counter and say, I have money, give me that figure, and they say, sure, I'll take your monies and I will give you your figure. And that's how easy that is. A winnable is you have to get into a battle royale, or you have to get into win a tournament or something to that nature in order to get it. So now, if we're talking about the Commissioner Gordon, I have it, I own it. I have not looked at the dial. So let's play a little bit of discovery, as it were. This is that discovery. By discovery, I mean we're going to play the state where we're going to learn how to play this figure. All right, I got it up. Thank you, HC Rolls, for having that. All right, so this Batman has a Batman ally and police team ability. He's a giant with 7 range, 2 targets. He is 150 points. Now, right there, you have to ask yourself, at 150 points, am I willing to sacrifice half my team for this guy? So let's answer that question. He does start with a running shot with Psychic Blast with a 7 range and 2 targets with 18 defense. And again, he is indomitable, so you can keep going with him 2 turns and possibly pull some stuff off. He's got a late dial power that gives him energy, shield, deflection, and toughness. And then once per game, you can generate a Jim Gordon bystander. When that bystander is KO'd, deal the Batman 1 unavoidable damage. So quickly look at the Jim Gordon. Jim Gordon is sidestep, toughness, energy, explosion, PD, team ability, and outwit. Okay, Pog, or sorry, for a Pog, that's actually fairly good. But it is a Pog that is very easily killed because unlike the Giant, the Jim Gordon Pog lacks stealth. So he's a lot easier to get your hands on than this guy. And then he becomes a liability for this guy. So, and the long and the short of it is that 150 points, you're committing half of your team to this. And like when you consider what in the current competitive game we spend half of our points on, we look at things like, actually, I think the only 2 figures I can think of are Jakeem Thunder and the Unimind, right? Now, if I was to compare this guy to even, let's go even Jakeem Thunder. Now, granted, Jakeem Thunder is a prime. That is a factor to consider. But when you do get around that and get around the fact that Mind is a super rare, and sorry, Jakeem Thunder's not just a prime; he's a super rare prime. So there are a lot of factors that make me go, Batman is. This is one of those good but not competitive figures. And that there's nothing wrong inherently with that. It's just very hard to justify attempting to compete with a figure that it doesn't shine as hard, say, as another figure. So without crapping on the figure too much, I wouldn't play it competitively without realizing that most of what your team is going to consist of is characters that will make this Batman better. Now, a big problem is one of the things that you can't do to make this Batman better is equip him, because he is a giant. Giants are non-standard characters and therefore can't be equipped. So any ideas you had of possibly giving him a Mjolnir or whatever can immediately be dashed. But there is the possibility, and I'm not going to consider it unheard of teaming this guy up with Green Arrow, and then you have Batman and Green Arrow next to each other. Batman is probably going to be able to use his PD team ability for whoever Green Arrow is going to shoot at, thus giving them a -1 defense and making them very good. But that, at the same time, if I commit 150 points to just do that and perplex, etc., is that what we like to call worth it? So those are considerations, because as well, I could spend a lot less points, get the PD team ability on carry and leadership on the same character in, I believe it's Commissioner Barbara Gordon, and be quite content with that as well. So those are the considerations. Again, not a bad figure, just not something I'm going to. A lot of players are going to look at as super awesome as far as competitive play is concerned. Again, it's that deal of, it's nothing wrong with a character not being super competitive. It's still a fun character to play in a fun kitchen table game, but this guy is not going into a competitive game and saying, "Hey, I'm stepping on everything, guys. What's going on? How you doing?" He dies to a lot of things and just gets outmaneuvered and outclassed by a lot of figures at under his point value. So, all right. Next up, we look at Swarm. Now, Swarm did have a heyday, and let's just pull him up now, because he's very cool. Swarm was from the Deadpool and the X-Force set. He is 120 points, and he's got very miserable defense if you look at him, but there's a reason for that. He's got a trait, only the Queen matters. Unless the attack roll is double, Swarm takes no more than 1 damage from attacks. So let's unpack this character. He's got shape change, and he's got super senses. So now you can get around those without whip, but you cannot get around this defensive trait. In addition to which, his first 3 clicks come with Orphan Swarms. Each time Swarm hits an opposing character after action is resolved, put a B Swarm bystander adjacent to that character unless there is already one. And then the B Swarm is got a movement power that says his actions do not count against your action total. He's got poison. He's got super senses. He's tiny and does 1 damage. Ultimately, this is just a poison character. And this is kind of a bonus on what you are planning to do with Swarm. And what I saw Swarm being used in when Tom Kerr used him was as part of another one of our battery engines. He used a scientist theme team with Swarm in order to use the not battery, sorry, round table. This is a round table engine character where you would get Swarm to call in what was then a powerful group of possible ID potential at 120 points on a character who is incredibly difficult to kill. Like, the first iteration of that team consisted of a Mary Marble, who is difficult to kill because she has a stop click. This guy has about 7 unless you're hot with the doubles. So as you can imagine, Swarm is very potent. Problem is, nowadays, there's a lot of sources of knockback. Super Strength with close combat actions does knockback. Force Blast is knockback. And because flyers no longer ignore knockback damage from being knocked off of elevated terrain, Swarm gets a little harder to justify as a character because you're not ignoring those that damage in any way, shape, or form. So if you can knock Swarm off of a building or into walls or whatever, you don't have to worry about getting through those modifiers. You can just knock them around and do more than the damage it is being dealt. So he was a good idea for a time. But between the ability to pick powers right now and the existence and rules changes to Super Strength, he becomes a significantly bigger liability as a character in the metagame than he used to be. So again, not a bad dude, not a terrible character, but in the grander scale of things, if a smart character is going to just bounce this guy around like a pinball and have no problems with him. All right, sorry, I went and jumped on my Facebook to look for the next figure and got to share that with you guys, my terribly sad Facebook. All right, so next up, the man who likes to make fun of Canadians when we're not around, Mr. Adam Cole, wants to know about Pizza Face. Now, Adam Cole is he's a character, to say the least. And there was a time where he considered a team consisting of 5 Pizza Faces. I'll let you get control of that. We'll continue from there. Are you done laughing? All right, cool. All right, so what does Pizza Face do? He's got the living pizzas. At the beginning of your first turn, choose an opponent. Place 1 living pizza bystander adjacent to your starting area for each non-bystander character that opponent has on the map. Next on his movement power, Pizza Zombies. Pizza Face can use mind control with a range value of 8. When he does, you may choose to modify Pizza Face's attack value by +3. If you do, after actions resolve, heal the hit target 1 click. So it's a really neat mind control that allows you to, do a lot of cool things at the cost of healing your opponent's character. And given the current game, let's unpack Pizza Face as he is right now. And Adam Cole is attempting to troll me, but I'm going to take his question very seriously right now. That's right, Adam. Who's trolling who now? First, there's the living pizzas. Given the current standing in the metagame and the way that the environment looks right now, Pizza Face, on average, is creating between 5 and 7, possibly up to 9 living pizzas at the start of the game. I'll let you think about that for a second. All right. Because the other thing we have to look at is the actual pizzas. I'm going to pull those up now. Living pizzas. Plasticity, poison. They're tiny, so... and I believe that is support. So you got little heal bots, 7 of them. What more is Adam Cole's idea, and I'm going to give him full credit for this. You can have the credit for this. Was to play a team full of Pizza Faces with those guys. So he technically start with 35 Pizza Face tokens adjacent to a starting area. Congratulations on having that many bystander tokens happen. Now, assuming your opponent or the other players to the left and right of your game are now on turn 7, because he's finally finished placing 35 pizza tokens, he's got a numbers advantage. But then you start to realize that it's cool because there's a wall of pizzas in front of you, but there are a wall of pizzas that are tiny. And as a result, they don't block lines of fire. So Pizza Face might as well be a colossal in this case. And that is one of the things. He's got 6 clicks of health, which is pretty good for 60 points. And for the most part, this team is not going to be attacking with the Pizza Face. They're going to be attempting to mind control things. So it's Adam Cole's idea of using Pizza Face in great numbers is an absolutely frustrating thing, I'm sure, to have to stare at, look at, deal with. But ultimately, it's a silly team that is going to get somebody pumping their damage to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage, which is very feasible in the current environment, given that there are a few +2 perplexes that allow you to increase damage that level, or just enough perplex in order to get damages that high. In addition to which, there's a lot of consideration for energy explosion that will get rid of massive amounts of the pizza tokens, while at the same time being able to deal with the pizza faces, giving them damage, because lo and behold, Harley Quinn is going to be getting +3 to her attack and taking out big chunks of pizzas. So it's a case where you kind of look at it away from the silly, and then you can possibly consider the idea of things like I am doing with my team, where I make a bunch of bystander tokens, push them forward, and then force my opponent to have to deal with them. And if they don't deal with them, they now have, when they do deal with them, they're now dealing with Colossal Retaliators. And you actually produce on a higher level than having a couple Groots, because you can, like I said, you're creating between 5 and 7 of these on the first turn. So you already start with more of them. The only problem, of course, is that you don't get to get more of them after the fact, I believe. This is not the meta-defining character, but if he gets shoved in on a team that happens to do well with it, Adam is going to never shut up about it. So that's how I'm calling that figure. Once again, on to the Facebook. All right. Next up, Jordan Slaughter wants to know about the WKO Heatwave and or the WKO Captain Cold. Well, let's take a look at both of them. I don't believe they're on HC Realms yet, though, or they may be. Let's see. Power Woman, Ryan, Joker. This may be a character I need to step upstairs for, as I am not seeing it on HC Realms right now. I am not, of course not, and it's not that Captain Cold. Okay. Well, and Amber doesn't love me enough to go get it for me. See, she's grumbling at me about it because I made a joke, and she just can't have fun. See? Incapable of having fun. Fun vacuum. What you get for derailing me at the beginning of my show. Perhaps there's something in the upcoming upcoming rumors section of HC Realm. Sometimes this stuff has what we need. Booster Gold, Robot Man, Long Shot. That was June. Okay, so that it's not there. Cool. All right. WizKids product release schedule. Monthly OP kit. Pump and dump it, whatever. All right. I don't have easy access to that. So maybe we will take a second. I will pause and be right back. In the meantime, let's take a good look at one of the figures I'm going to be covering today. And that will be... Oh, by the way, anybody who posted your teams on the Facebook post, I'm not addressing those because I just want figures. I really just wanted figures to build around or work with, and I would explain why or why not I would do it. So I appreciate your enthusiasm when you do that, but the instructions were not that. So, but we will take a look here. I might just take a highlight from your teams if I choose to do so, and go from there. But I'm going to go ahead and highlight the Batman and the Batman animated series Hawkman and Hawkgirl for a couple seconds. Let you guys take this figure in, and then I'm going to go see if I can't find my Hawkman or my Heatwave and Captain Cold, and be right back. So I apologize for this and my lack of preparedness, but that one kind of snuck up on me. I didn't realize it was there. You know, it's going to be very embarrassing if I went all the way upstairs, only to discover that
it's not in there.
They're not in here. Okay, no, they're here. All right. So that's going to be those characters are going to be the Hawkman, Hawkgirl are going to be the next topic. But Heatwave and Captain Cold. I'll try to do this as best I can verbally, and I'm going to do my best. Though I do believe this actually shows up mirrored to you guys. So there's a stat line on Heatwave, and I believe it's very similar. Yeah, almost the same stat line on Captain Cold with different power sets. Okay, so that said, Heatwave has a trait Flame Wall. Barrier, Heatwave, when Heatwave uses it, he has free make a range attack regardless of line of fire, targeting one character adjacent to one of his barrier markers. After resolution, the hit character is dealt 1 penetrating damage. In addition to which, he's got the special attack power on the first 3 clicks, Energy Explosion, Precision Strike that may target more than 1 character. So it's basically Energy Explosion with Precision Strike, but he's also got 6 range with 3 targets, and he comes in at 65 points. So I believe Captain Cold is going to be sitting at the same point level. And then he also has Barrier, but his is free, make a range attack, and after resolution, give the hit character an action token instead of penetrating damage. So damage dude, ice dude, that will ice in Heroclix equals incapacitate. Too cold for you is his special damage power. Shape change. Characters with 1 or more action token can't attack Captain Cold unless he's the only friendly character on the map. Once again, 65 points. Now, are these guys any good? Yeah, they're good. They're really cool. Their powers are neat. Their attack values are a little wanting after the first click. So you do have to be aware of that. But they're only coming in at 65 points. They are Barrier, which if you use it in conjunction with the Captain America title character, I believe his thing affects Barrier, but I should be careful about saying things like that without actually having the figure in front of me or the card in front of me. Captain America Principled being the character I'm talking about. Force Blast, Incapacitate, or Smoke Cloud. So I was wrong, not Barrier. Either way, Barrier is a good power. You can use these 2 guys to overlap their barriers and possibly include a Green Lantern. But if I was to just go off of, because this is the current metagame, really tease off of keywords, you have to look at what they have. And I that moment of silence was for me giving up on this immediately, because you have Central City, Legion of Doom, Rogues, and Suicide Squad on Captain Cold, and Heatwave has Central City, Rogues, and Suicide Squad. So I think you'd be working off a Suicide Squad at best. And I'm not going to say that's a bad theme team. That is a solid enough theme team. So I'm going to take a couple extra minutes on this one, mostly because a lot of this is a little bit of my own discovery too. Yes, I've owned the character since I won the WKO, but it's sometimes you just don't get that time to look at a thing, or it just ends up out of my direction because whatever reasons it wasn't part of a keyword I was building around. It wasn't something I was particularly gunning for. So now one of the things we want to look at when we're looking at the Suicide Squad, is what's available to us. I'm already excited because one of the first figures available to us is actually something somebody else had asked about, but I directed them to episode number 1 of this show, the Clock King. This is a great board control character. Give a second to give you guys a look at that one. Because the Clock King has a fair bit of evasion, specifically in his ability to not get based, as well as having super senses across his entire dial and some late dial shape change. His big key is your time is coming to an end, Mr. Maya. At the beginning of your turn, choose 1. Generate a time bomb token, max 3 within 6 squares, or remove a time bomb marker and give each opposing character within 2 squares of it an action token. So people are just going to run away from this guy's tokens, and that you can use that to kind of force people into a position that you want them in. So that's very strong. If I was to include the other two guys, it's 130 points. We were only at 170 points. So I would for sure include clocking. We got to work around the rest of the team. King Shark falls under this category. Great. King Shark's just good, and we're going to talk about him a little bit because I may actually have time to address the teams that people ask for, but they get last priority. Nightshade is also very good, but you do have to be careful because she has this negative Suicide Squad effect. So be aware of that. And then we have a little bit in Joker's Wild, but nothing that particular. Like Bronze Tiger is great for a 60-point character, but he's not winning games for you. Tattoo Man, once again, 60-point character who's just neato, but he should have had like a pick of power if you ask me as far as design for the character. We got a Deadshot who's pretty okay. This team works within itself, but has a hard time working externally, if that makes any kind of any degree of sense. Basically, it's got a lot of cool characters, but not a lot of cool characters who are posting each other up. In addition to which, we're trying to base this on a couple of characters that use barrier. So to give the long and the short of it is it's a hard team character to build with, and you do have to build with the mindset that you can't expect map control or map choice, which means you've got to go the extra length to make those guys work in a situation where you didn't choose the map. So just a thought on that. So, okay. Yeah. So that they're not, again, it's one of those not bad, but possibly not competitive. Just from team build situation. And the fact that in a lot of those cases, I'd rather be using their attacks and damages instead of their barrier powers. Even though the barrier powers are cool and you might be able to pull off some neat stuff with it. So you got to kind of make your choice on that. Is it? Now, before I say that overall, I may have misread the blah, 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 blah. Make a range attack regardless of range of line of fire, targeting one character adjacent. Yeah, you're only targeting one character with that. With the both of them too. So you're giving up barrier to target one character. You're giving up an attack in order to barrier and attack one character. They also have really reasonable stats and damages to go on their own. And Heatwave's energy explosion that's able to actually be joined in with his precision strike can go a long way in dealing with a lot of those precision strike madness things that we've seen. All right. And the reason I left you guys temporarily to staring at the Hawkman Hawkgirl duo was because we had one of the questions actually involving Hawkman and Hawkgirl from the Batman the Animated Series set, which was created by the trio that won Team Worlds 2 years ago, and they stepped all over our corpses to get there. So they damn well earned it. They played they had a heck of a team. That I was playing against in the C bracket, and just generally awesome guys all around. But Johnny Dunn wants to know, my next ROC, I was going to play Magneto Realist or Hawkgirl Hawkman. Which do you think is better? Okay, both are good. But if we look at the Hawkman Hawkgirl duo for a second, this is a very versatile character. It's indomitable. And it is either a charging, bludgeoning, close combat monstrosity or a hypersonic poke and run, hit and run character as well. Is capable of giving Justice League characters, taking them an action token off of them. And they also have that beginning of the turn, you may change their dial depending what you choose. And then when they would be KO'd, you can choose to turn them to click one of a different color, and they can't use that trait for the rest of the game. So if you kill the character on one of the dials, you are not quite done yet, which means effectively you're dealing with 10 clicks of health at 125 points. That's one thing you got to take into account. So next thing is they are traded with sidestep, but they can move 3 squares instead. And they can modify their attack by +1 when they're only targeting non-flying characters. Magic the Gathering snuck into my vernacular there. So, just a second. let's take a second to also look at Magneto the Realist from the X-Men Xavier School set. He is super rare. All right, so we have for 100 points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 clicks of health, so 3 less than the other half. And then he's the title character. His +1, all friendly characters within range, modify attack by +1 until your next turn. That's on a 7 range, by the way. His -2, move all friendly characters within range up to 2 squares. So basically a sidestep for your entire team. And his -9, the Dream is Supremacy, free for the rest of the game as long as Magneto Realist is on the map. Friendly characters modify damage +1. Now that is regardless of range or damage or line of fire and et cetera, how you're attacking and everything. So that is cool, but that is a -9. I believe his starting title plot points are 3. So it would take you at minimum 6 turns in order to get that. We're generally trying to end the game a little before that, and I'd probably be using his -2 to get a better effect out of that. He lacks Indomitable, but he is less points. Now, he's also got the Brotherhood of Mutants team ability, which changed to the new Avengers team ability, which is +1 movement when moving. So that's actually a little less awesome when you look at it that way. If I was to choose, you get so much more bonus out of running the Hawkman Hawkgirl duo, and the sole fact that this guy comes with a negative. I can't remember what his negative is. I believe you get like -1. Oh yeah, sorry. Whenever he's KO'd, friendly characters modify damage -1 for the rest of the game. That's rough. That is brutal. And then you have to consider you're comparing it to this character who doesn't have a negative to die, is indomitable, is only 25 points more, has 3 clicks more of health, is super flexible in functionality, and is possibly able to outwit depending on the situation you're in, and you have empower to work your close combat a little tougher. If I was personally given the option between the two, this Magneto Realist or Hawkman and Hawkgirl, I would go with Hawkman and Hawkgirl. They're very strong, potent character, and just they do so much more for you and can penalize you significantly, will penalize you a lot less if you happen to lose. Now, granted, if you lose either of these characters, you've lost at minimum a third of your team, a little bit more in the case of Hawkman, Hawkgirl. Excuse me. So you do have to take that into consideration when I say these are the negatives. But these guys are going to be gunned for because they do take up a fair bit of your team. In addition to which, worth mentioning, Hawkman, Hawkgirl do make Justice League characters really, really cool. And there is one Justice League character that I can remember off the top of my head who can really benefit off of that Justice League Unlimited, and that would be Zatanna. So if you like, let's actually kind of look at the theme teams you get out of these, because you get Acolytes and Brotherhood of Mutants for your keywords for Magneto. I'm not going to bother. That's you know what? I'm going to bother. I'm going to bother so you can witness how sad that is to look at right now. Do you know what? It is not the Brotherhood of Evil. It is the Brotherhood of Mutants. Brotherhood of Evil is a completely different keyword. But still, here is your selection of Brotherhood of Evil characters. What you see on the screen is it. There's Mastermind. This guy's not even legal anymore. Scarlet Witch here isn't even legal anymore. You get Mystique, Magneto, Mondo, and the Magneto Realist. Uncanny X-Men is not a legal set anymore. So there's 4 characters of the Brotherhood of Evil, Brotherhood of Mutants keyword. I don't even think the 4 of them combined will make a 300-point team. Oh, no, they're 305. Feel sad. Meantime, if we go with the Justice League or even Justice Society, like we'll go with Justice League because of that trait that just tees off of the Justice League. And now we also have to remember that there's going to be some updates that didn't quite hit HC Realms. Like a lot of these con exclusive or prize figures just aren't legal anymore. But as you can see, Just quite a bit. World's Finest is no good. Batman versus Superman is no good. But you have, okay, well, Geoforce and Plastic Man from Joker's Wilder. Yeah. You got one character from the Wonder Woman mini set. But then from the Elseworlds set, you have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 possible figures, not including the Fast Forces. And one of which, if I remember, is this Green Lantern. Take a deep breath on this one. This guy is amazing. For 60 points, it's unbelievable what you get here. You get 8 battery tokens on him. When the Green Lantern attacks, remove a battery token. When there are no battery tokens on this card, Green Lantern can make range attacks or use powers or abilities. Sure. All right. Let's actually scale the game to the number of attacks you're expecting to get out of this character. If you run out of all 8 battery tokens, what game of Heroclix were you guys playing? Because I want to see that game. It sounds awesome. And it was probably 1,000 points. And that's only 60 points being added to the team. If we add that Zatanna, like I said, you can go as high as 75 with her even. And she's a reasonable character that can add the enhancing bats who add to just the general awesome of this team. And there's just a lot of room to experiment with this. Heck, you can actually consider Super Friends on the board with these guys too. And some of those Super Friends are pretty cool. But of course, there's such a liability with a lot of what they do. So be aware of that before you just overcommit to it. And of course, the Starro minions, some of them are pretty interesting, not great, but there's considerations there. So I would not poo-poo the Hawkgirl Hawkman duo as a possible mainstay for a team. I mean, honestly, if I was one of the dudes who made the figure, I'd probably be using it on all my teams. All right. So we've done that. We did that. We move next. So yes, Hawkman, Hawkgirl, an experiment with combinations of Justice League characters if I was you. Or consider Justice Society, but see what crossover you get with Justice Society and Justice League and possibly pull some weird stuff off with that. There's a lot of room for experimentation with that. All right. All right. Now, Chris Kiley put 2 characters on his. I'll give it to him for now. And it is the Elseworlds. Oh no, it's the Diana Prince. Okay. I totally misread that. I saw 2 characters on this thing. So let's look at Diana Prince in a nutshell and see, because he says he likes her against X-Men teams. All right, so let's go here. We'll screen share her. This is the super rare with the fab nails or the fab knives coming out of her. Sorry. All right. Investigating planetary, opposing characters with 4 squares in line of fire can't use Outwit or Perplex. That is good counterplay to the X-Men. I see where you're coming from on that one. Next, special damage power. She can use close combat expert and support, and then her special attack power in the last 2 clicks. She can use Blades, Claws, Fangs. Give Diana Prince a close combat action to make a close attack, targeting each opposing character within 2 squares in line of fire. Here is the problem that I do enjoy your idea. I like where you're coming from, but she needs to be within 4 squares. So yeah, you showed me that you're using the Green Lantern, but I still feel like the X-Men are gonna get the jump on you because one thing worth noting is that I believe the Cyclops has sidestep as part of his trait as well as perplex leadership. So let's just kind of pull that up very quickly here. Leadership perplex. Okay, so maybe not sidestep per se. No, here it is. Sidestep. If Cyclops goes in an opposing area, starting area, then his own, he can use Psychic Blast. Otherwise, he can use Energy Shield. I still think he's going to blast you out of the water. Or, I mean, ultimately, you're going to get the shots off with... He can get a shot off with the Cyclops one way or another, get 3 damage, and then finish up with a Wolverine. You've lost 40 points, and you're committing 95 points to do this, and that other 55 is a little harder pressed to combat the rest of the team. I like the idea, and you kind of have to build around it from there. And you're also herein lies counterplay and its weakness. If you have a counter to a thing, does it counter enough to justify? 40 points just of your team is a little over 10%. Not a massive investment. And this character does do a fair bit in the game, but you have to measure it versus the survivability and the ability to deal with this particular character. The Green Lantern is going to help you get her. If you roll at 5 or 6, you can get her, I think, like 16 squares across the map. Not bad, but probably not close enough still if he keeps the Cyclops back to protect you from his shot. Yeah, so I don't feel like she's protected enough from what you're trying to stop to justify, in my opinion. It's cool. I don't want to take away from the idea. I see where you're coming from. It's a very awesome idea, and I appreciate it. The only problem, of course, is that as cool as it is, it's squishier than it looks. I feel like it's a not worthwhile investment if your only goal is to deal with the perplexes on the board, because that particular character has problems with teams that don't care about perplex, and just generally doesn't have that kind of survivability. So good idea. Your thought process is there, and you have some good ideas as far as trying to deal with the problem. But this is a character that has to be there to deal with the problem. So protecting that character when it's there becomes the priority. And I feel like that's a little harder with that particular character than you may be giving her credit for. So that's kind of my takeaway from it, what I see. And if you're seeing different results, let me know. I'd appreciate that. But try it. See if you see what I'm talking about. But when you try it, make sure it's against a player who really knows this X-Men team, because you will find that this X-Men team is a little bit more versatile in the right hands than you might be giving it credit for. And Perplex, in a lot of cases, isn't necessarily the only source of attack increase you really get out of the characters in the X-Men team. There are other ways that they can be increasing stats and whatnot. So, all right. Next up, Kevin Sharp in the chat just mentioned Gray Ghost. Okay, so let's take a look at this Gray Ghost, because I've heard a lot about him, and I've been meaning to look at him, but I was really caught up in the Phantasm from the set. So, Gray Ghost comes in at either 75 or 40 points. All right. Let's give it a good solid look-see. So it's 75 points. You get a 6-click dial. You get a 4-click dial for 40 points. So we can look at it from here. All right. So you get the special damage power. Outwit and Perplex is what it gives you. The first trait, Tough Silver Screen Idol. At the beginning of the game, you may choose a character on your force named Batman or Bruce Wayne. If you do, the Gray Ghost and the chosen character's attack rolls of double 3s, double 4s, double 5s, and double 6s are all critical hits. Hey, we don't need more extras in this scene. While the Gray Ghost is on the map, characters can't generate bystanders if a bystander of the name is already on the map. If a character generates multiple bystanders at once, they can generate the first one. I saw a player using this, and this is the same thing I'm going to say about the Diana Prince. Is cool, neat idea. But the Gray Ghost, you have to consider the fact that the best investment is probably the 40-point version. And in general honesty, are the bystanders the problem? And that's what you have to ask yourself, and you have to look at the team that you get out of this. I'm not going to dump on it. This is an interesting idea. And I say try to roll with it, but you have to come up with a team that does well, not just against the bystander-focused teams, because bystanders are in some cases a perk and an easy maker, there are ways that a lot of the bystander token teams can just play and just do well as it is. So you got to think about the generators, what the generators are doing, and how you can compete with those dudes. So, and really, there's enough generators that are just making one of a character instead of multiples of a character that can just be enough of a problem that Grey Ghost, you kind of look at it and go, well, this didn't work the way I thought it would. So those are the things to consider. Again, it's a silver bullet to a single problem, but is the single problem what's actually the hard part of the team? And so let's try to unpack this character a little bit more, because I've said my piece, and now it's time to money where my mouth is sort of situation. So advanced search, modern age, and let's start with the Justice. Okay, I want to take a look at Justice Society in the meantime, just to get it out of my system. So you got the Grey Ghost, which does its thing. You can possibly include Hawkman and Hawkgirl. Red Tornado is an option along with Sand. Very good characters overall, but we do have to be careful of where we are in points wise. Green Lantern, another great idea. Possibly a team that could make Jakeem Thunder great. Possibly lose that, go here. Red Tornado is a semi-joke, semi-awesome. This is, I think, one of the most underrated characters in the game. 45 points, capable of keeping dudes close to her when needed, and with an 18 defense to share. I'm all in love with the woman with the pot on her head. Another one, Sand, is also, very appreciated, especially when you consider he's got phasing teleport with Force Blast that you can use for free. And then we, of course, are including the Grey Ghost. Now, this is, of course, a themed team that is named. So the fact that Jakeem Thunder has probability control adds to a team that can already make a fair number of rerolls. So it's a possibility, and it's not going to immediately lose to those to bystanders to strategies, because the bystanders are gone. So possibly run this, give this a try, take a look at it, try some other ideas with it, but do be prepared and to kind of look at Grey Ghost and say that was a good idea, but there may just be better ways to deal with the bystanders that aren't Grey Ghost, right? An example is, just Shredders walk up to them. There aren't very many in Invincible. So Mr. Graves, I'm not sure if you're asking or telling. Anyway, that was kind of my first inclination to roll on was Justice Society. There's more you could do with that, because he has a bevy of keywords, specifically on the Grey Ghost. You've got Batman, family, celebrity, detective, Gotham City, Justice Society, police. He could be part of a Gotham City team that is using Green Arrow in order to focus a lot of damage out of. And then you're stopping a major strategy that would overwhelm a character like the Green Arrow. So some things to consider. All right. Next up, let's talk about I hadn't looked up the past keyword yet, because today we're mostly focusing on characters that people want to build with. So I'm kind of discussing why or why not we wouldn't be using them. And if I was to just we can take a second, because a lot of what's coming up here is other people's teams. And I hate when people do this, when I ask for a figure and then they give me a team. Instructions, people, read instructions. Not being angry. It's just, it's one of those things I appreciate everybody's enthusiasm to build teams. Going to look it up, but does Grey Ghost pick a Batman trait, work with Batman God of Knowledge? No, it doesn't, because Batman God of Knowledge is the full name of the There might be something about commas or comminated names that might actually say you can, but I feel like you can't use Batman God of Knowledge with this one. So what pieces would you use on a Cosmo-centric theme team or police team? Cosmo is a good addition to the Cosmic theme team. Mike's been running it. Cosmo with Unseen with Frog Yolnir has been his strategy. It's a pretty interesting team. Not something I would personally run, but it's worth a good look into. We were looking at the past keyword. I got distracted, and you guys unfortunately got to see me just what happens when my brain gets absolutely annihilated. So, all right. If you're running a past team, this character is a must, in my opinion, just for pure mobility. Past took a bit of a gnarly hit with the last cuts, and lost a lot of the Uncanny X-Men set. So that does kind of hurt the set, the keyword a little. Though, don't poo-poo the Spider Knight. His 19 defense and ability to give friendly characters energy shield. If you can get this guy with somebody with defend nearby, copy the defend team ability, guess what? You're sharing some pretty awesome defense. It didn't get too much of a bump from this recent set. You got Ra's al Ghul and Hawkman Hawkgirl. We have the Robot Man Booster Gold and Hawkgirl from which Hawkgirl is this? So this is the con exclusive Hawkgirl. Okay, but not winning my affection anytime soon. We got, of course, the Cowboys, Cowgirls, Al Jordan, and of course, can't forget that Justice Society characters. Past isn't bad, but it's not once glory was when Tom was dominating with it with the round table. So pretty cool. Pretty cool keyword still. Very flexible. Just not its once glory that it not the glory it once was. Okay. So next, what we have is people with teams that want to go over it. So we can go over it quickly. I'll try to go quickly without giving too much information as far as what to do and everything like that. It's just, I hate this. I really do, because people get really invested in their teams. And I mean, I'm guilty of it too. Look at how I keep telling everybody to stop suggesting Giganto for my monster team. I'm very attached to my team. But the team that I believe it was Jay Slaughter. Yeah, Jay Slaughter gave me a team with 2 90-point King Sharks, a Tribbles, a King Aquaman, a Hellion, and a Mangog. Pretty cool team. Not bad. Neat idea. Super aggressive. Amber's considering playing it now. We have 1 King Shark, so bad news, Amber. Apparently, I am no longer building team for Amber. All right, so what does King Aquaman do? King Aquaman begins the game, blah, 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 blah. At the beginning of your turn, you may place a water terrain token marker in any square of clear terrain within 8 squares. Give him a free action. Choose an opposing character that occupies water terrain within 8 squares. Place that character into an adjacent square. All right, so you can put a guy in water, yank him to Aquaman, and then this is a team that is very fast but not fast, if that makes any degree of sense. You see, Aquaman creates water. Here's where he's going. Aquaman creates water. Helen uses TK. TK is a character TK is a King Shark onto the water. Then King Shark goes onto the water and runs very fast, very far, which is cool. Neato. And then it'll all depend on where you put the King Aquaman to its great effect. Don't enable her, Emily. She wanted to point out that she has 2 king sharks and a rock water map if you need them. I don't need them. Amber's considering this. This is not my team. This is somebody else's team. Sorry, it has 2 king sharks, of tribbles, a king Aquaman, Hellion, and Mangog. Of course, I see where he's going. It's the same idea as we have with Amber's team. Move the king sharks all up in her face, and then, of course, I'm forced to deal with the king sharks, and then the king sharks are now triggering Mangog, and Mangog comes in and does his blasty thing. Cool. I like it. Problem. You run into a massive problem when you get surrounded by things like Walking Woods, because King Shark does not ignore characters. You get stuck in. You do not get map choice in the current meta as well, because this is not a theme team. Hellion definitely not carrying any of those keywords, and Mangog. So you got to picture this team now functioning in the underground cavern, and you also have to picture this team now also having to deal with clogged up arteries of tunnels with plasticity characters like the Walking Woods. This is a team that might actually benefit from the Grey Ghost. Now, there's 25 points with which to move around with. You're not totally lost yet. I would almost consider Surtur instead of Mangog myself to, get some points down a bit. And just, yeah, it's a super aggressive, in-your-face team that's going to Alpha Strike, and then it's going to Mangog, and then hope for the best. It is exactly 6 characters, which goes a long way. Yeah, so what do we got here? Happy Little Heroclix. Baby Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy 2 can help you too if you lose map and now have elevated terrain. Is Guardians of the Galaxy 2 still legal? I can never remember. I can never keep track of the movie sets because I don't really get them. It looks like Guardians of the Galaxy 2 did not make the cut. Did it? Maybe it did. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's just before Avengers War. It's fine. Yeah, so Baby Groot is there. Let's see what Baby Groot does. Baby Groot. Ignores hindering terrain. Can use sidestep. Friendly characters within 1 square can use improved movement, ignore elevated. Groot can use enhancement and shape change. Can help you if you lose map and now have elevated terrain. Yeah, it's the blocking you'd have to be dealing with. So, and then 35 point. Okay, but you only have to remember you're considering Deadpool dupe at 35, but we've got 25 points with which to work. And I was able to maybe shift 5 points around to consider Surtur instead of Mangog. And Mangog is actually, even though I'm being ridiculously in my head with the non-inclusion of Mangog. Mangog is actually probably the better option, especially against teams like X-Men. Though this team is going to make liquid paste of a lot of X-Men teams. But when you actually look at what maps are being used right now, the 2 main maps, of course, are the 2 sides of the underground cavern. But then you also have to put into consideration rock maps. So it's okay. So here's the thing: it's a playable team. You can run this team and actually do fairly well, but you will have to take into consideration things that will get in your way and learn how to play around them and watch your patience level with teams like that. As far as, and Happy Little Clicks does go on to ask if there's a cheap destroy blocking movement figure. There's a Colossal Wonder Woman, as you mentioned there. There's also the inclusion of the brand new wanted poster for Colossus, which is a safe version, say, of the Colossus ID card. And so for 5 points, you can use the 80-point Colossus to just walk through some blocking. That is an option as well. So those are 2 considerations. It's just so for Jordan Slaughter's team, the big consideration on his team, and I want to start and say this here. This will be the last day I look at other people's teams and make assessments of it, because this is supposed to be the intent of my madness, not your madness. So, and at the same time, I feel mean-spirited when I try to give all the all of these pieces of advice, and it can feel like maybe I shouldn't, so on and so forth. So just don't take anything I say as the gospel. Take it as suggestions or thought process. And I'm going to say this double King Shark, Tribbles, King Aquaman, Hellion, Mangog team. It's a good idea. You have 25 points with which to work, which is a very smooth, comfortable zone to work with. Consider some ID cards, or consider adding a Surtur if you feel that's a little bit more comfortable for you. Personally, I would probably go with an ID card and, like we said, Skyscraper, Wonder Woman, because we're already giving up on theme anyway, right? Skyscraper, go with 2 ID cards and Skyscraper, Wonder Woman. That gives you something to walk through a bunch of blocking if blocking terrain becomes a massive issue. But do become patient in not ideal map choice situations, and be aware of your navigation around your opponent's team. All right. So Jordan, I like it. Very cool. But when I ask for character, just give me a character you want me to talk about. I love your team. It's really cool. And you can liquefy X-Men teams with it. But just be aware of the ask here. Christmas Weatherman, he wants to talk about X Factor. X Factor's not a character, man. I'm going to start shaming everybody on this channel when I ask a question and nobody gives me the right answer. All right. Or nobody gives me the correct type of answer. Shame. Where's it? There's an app for this. Hold on. Gonna have the bell. Shame. All right. So X Factor, which includes title for character, Deadpool, WizKid, Pip the Troll, a few X-Men also have the X Factor keyword, like Darwin. Okay. My opponent in the finals of the WKO learned the hard way that Darwin is cool, but he could be the biggest liability you've ever seen in your life. So be aware of that. And when a Surtur comes crashing down on your team because you wanted to bring Darwin, I told you so. Okay, guys? All right. Darwin and Angel, some other fast forces, X-Men can be used to reprise. Okay. So this is one of those things like keyword, cool. Is the keyword strong? Kinda. WizKid is a good element on the team, but then when you commit to WizKid, you commit to grouping. And as we've been discussing for the past little bit, you do commit to, I'm going to talk about yours very soon, Happy Little Heroclix. I'm glad somebody said that because I've been trying. So you do commit to being in a group. You're also doing the same with Pip the Troll. Who am I kidding? And then you become susceptible to Little Miss Harley Quinn Collins with her +3 attack energy explosions. So if you can get around that, it's cool, but you do have to be aware that Deadpool is such a liability because title characters, man, even though Deadpool's thing is super, his dial is super, super deep. You know what I mean? So, all right. But Happy Little Heroclix, he's breaking my heart and making me fall in love because I get to talk about one of the challenges I've had for a little bit since last year's convention exclusive came out. Because for the past little while, I too have wanted to float like a butterfly and sting like a bee and talk about Muhammad Ali. I said that completely weird. I apologize. All right. So, problem number one, Muhammad Ali. He has got 2 keywords that are very rough to build with, celebrity and warrior. If we were to go back in time and use the warrior keyword, boy, would I ever want to come out and play. Yeah, Amber saw what I did. All right. If a character named Superman is on your force, Muhammad Ali doesn't count for or against a theme team. At the beginning of the game, Muhammad Ali may choose to use Battle Fury this game. We'll keep that in consideration for a minute. He's got that foot like a butterfly. He's got sidestep, the rope-a-dope as it were, sting like a bee, special attack power. Muhammad Ali can use precision strike, but his damage dealt can't be below 2 instead of 1. He's also got empower. So here is the direction I would consider. We could give up on the idea of using his keywords. And there is a Superman that I would not be against possibly considering, and that is this Superman here. This is the Superman Uncommon from the Elseworlds set. This is, I think, a very underrated character. 70 points. Superman and ally team ability with 6 range. He's got charge, super strength, which is an important element, and I'll get to that in a second. I plead guilty, Your Honor, is his trait. Whenever Superman deals damage from an attack, you may choose to deal an amount of damage from 1 to his damage value instead of normal damage. If Superman KOs an opposing character after action is resolved, deal him 1 unavoidable damage. All right, so allow me this. If he KOs an opposing character, he personally KOs an opposing character, after action is resolved, he takes the damage. But a rules change came after this character got made. And that rules change was that super strength now does knockback, or allows you to deal knockback damage. So you can technically deal like 7 damage with an object, or 6 damage with an object, and then knock a character back, and if the 7th damage kills them, you see where I'm going with this? He won't take the damage because it's not him dealing the damage, it's the knockback. Now, of course, this isn't going to work against range, but he is a stealth buster. Anyway, so we're at 145 points, and we can start working with Kryptonian or Metropolis or Reporter as the keyword. And that's where things start to fall apart. Because if we look at modern age, and let's go with Kryptonian for now. I believe we're going to have like 2 characters show up, and I'm probably being generous. Brainiac Skullship's not legal. That Skullship's not legal either. Oh, Doomsday is a Kryptonian. We might consider no, not considering Doomsday. We got a 100-point Superman. What is that from? And we got this. Oh, it's okay. Yeah, I know what this is. It's okay at best. This is from the Trinity thing. Okay, so we can get back into Batman the animated series. We got a couple more Supermen. Harley Quinn and the Gotham Girls has this Supergirl. Dale Suderman right there. That's the. I'm sorry. I apologize. Yeah, just like I said, this is where it kind of falls apart. So we move now. We check our keyword for Metropolis, I believe was the other one. It was Kryptonian, Metropolis, and Reporter. So let's try Metropolis and see what we can pull out of that one. Remember, this all started with Muhammad Ali. All right, so Titano does give us the option of what's it called? Colossal Retaliator. So we can't poo-poo that. We can pull in this Lex Luthor, who's a gigantic jerk. We go back into Elseworlds. We get the Green Lantern to Krypton, who's pretty cool. 100 points, and we still have 55 points to work with. But then it kind of goes back to falling apart. So this is the Superman I want to use, but I can't use. So let's go back to searching for Superman. Is there a way to... Okay, name contains Superman and is modern. Let's just do that. What do we got? So we got Composite Superman, Superman, the Trinity one. Batman animated series is 100 points, and it does give us Justice League Kryptonian to work with. What do you got here? You said the Starro Superman. Superman Starro. Yeah, I actually think it's 125 or 100 or 75. Okay, well, 75 is... You can choose one to use until your next turn. Flurry or an improved movement. This character can move through blocking terrain immediately after movement resolves, destroy all blocking. Okay, that's cool. 100 points or 75 points. All right, let's go with 75. This, I have to, I believe bracketed names are specifically not part of the character's name somewhere in the comprehensive rules. Do not quote me on this yet. But you're right. We do now get to work with Cosmic. So Cosmic or Justice League. So Justice League allows us the option of Zatanna. I apologize, guys. I'm off the rails because I've wanted to work with Muhammad Ali for a while. And this lets me have a little bit of fun in my day. So we go to modern and let's look up that cosmic keyword because, like, if we don't already know, we should be ashamed of ourselves. And I'm ashamed of myself. I apologize. All right, cosmic. Here we go. Take a quick drink for a second while I look at this and start to mull this around in my head. All right. So initially I want to say let's give Leo a try or give Michelangelo a try, but Muhammad Ali's already got sidestep. Superman's already kind of effective on his own, and I'm not really gaining anything from the smoke cloud as it is. Leonardo is, I want to use him, but if my opponent isn't using equipment, he just becomes 75 points too many points for me. We can go back to the old mainstay of Star Fox, and then include a Mjolnir. So we're effectively at 240 points. So we have 60 points with which to work in the cosmic keyword. We throw on 2 Groots. That leaves us another 20 points with which to use for ID cards and everything like that. Is this a good team? No. Not as good as I want it to be. Is it going to be fun? Yeah, because it has Muhammad Ali. It's got a boxer. So those are considerations. I do like Happy Little Heroclix does mention the idea of the cheap Super Friends Superman. I feel like he becomes a major liability against anybody with Energy Shield or can choose Energy Shield or something like that. So I'm gonna. Is it Energy Shield that he's weak against? I can never remember these weaknesses. There's so bloody many of them, and I actually like Superman is off of my radar as one of the, because he just let me down in a game, and it wasn't even because of his weakness. He just missed an attack and died. His occasional weakness is force fields. Yeah, so Energy Shield. So it depends on how much Energy Shield's out there, actually. I'm not 100% sure what is. I don't think there is that much in the game. And then it's 40 points, so you have 115, and you're working with Justice League, Kryptonian, and Super Friends. I'm never making a Super Friends theme team. It's nothing against the team, but, like, let's be brutally honest. We've already looked at Kryptonian, and Kryptonian has a very shallow selection. And Super Friends, every single one of them comes with a liability. And I don't want to be messing with that kind of liabilities. So apologize. I'm just kind of cleaning up after myself because I took out all my prize cards. Gotta put them away now because I'm a responsible adult, I swear. Yeah. So... yeah, the Super Friends Green Lantern would give you cheap TK, but at what cost? I mean, there's a lot of cheap TK that doesn't immediately die when it sees a yellow power. So it's an up and down. It's here and there, and it's really hard to just kind of force myself to do it. I mean, at this point, it's kind of you're kind of forcing yourself on the matter at this point. So. All right, so I kind of addressed everybody's characters, and, you know, I'm hoping some people are seeing the thought process that goes through trying to pick and choose the characters you want to use competitively. And I do want to stress, this came up today, think about your silver bullet and what they do beyond being the silver bullet. Because you can say, I've got the hard counter to that particular problem, and you got to ask yourself, did that player plan on having to deal with that? Which is question one you have to ask yourself. Question two, is it enough to shut down their team? And B, is it worth it to have that character on your team and then have a team that doesn't and have you come up with a team that's not useful against, and then that character is just possibly dead weight. And this is part of the Leonardo argument. This question comes up a lot: is why don't people use Leonardo in an equipment-filled meta game? And the real answer is, if my opponent is not using equipment, I now just have a 75-point Leonardo, because part of his point cost is murdering my opponent's equipment. And then I just have the Leonardo dial. And is it good enough to justify? It's pretty good. It's not a bad 75-point dial, but it's not crashing the game. And honestly, all you're doing is possibly killing Mjolnir on Star Foxes, and swords being equipped to Jokers, which is coming up a lot lately. It's really weird. And it, like, you got to look at, if you don't play against that team, and then if you lose that game, those teams are over there. And now you're in this bracket over here where those teams are only over here because they lost to a team that's on that level already. If you kind of get my gist. I have had this happen to me before, where it's like, I have 8 counters to this problem. Fantastic. I lost my first game, and that problem is now over there, and I'm over here having to work around my own overcommitment to the problem. So be wary of the silver bullets and the people who sell them, because silver is a great metal, but you know, if you're trying to kill werewolves and everybody's got vampires. Actually, do silver bullets work on vampires? I don't know. It depends on whose book you're reading. I think it's supernatural. Silver bullets work on everything. Who cares? It's a bad analogy, right? If you're using silver bullets to deal with werewolves, and everybody is bringing wolves instead, why did you invest in silver bullets? I think that's what I'm trying to get at. I'm usually good at this, and I don't know why I'm sucking at this right now. Right?
I love this journey.
Where am I going? Where am I going with this analogy? All right, so thought process is kind of been dumped on people, and I hope some of what I shared gives some people some insight into general thought process, the general thought process behind the decision-making process. You know, I think the next time I do the show, we're going to get back to filling the library full of teams that we'll actually consider as teams either now or later, or for other formats, etc. I haven't come up with that just yet. But as always, I want to hear your questions, comments, or concerns in the comment section. I will either try to address them on the next episode or in that comment section as it is. This week, we won't be opening up the doorway to suggestions or ideas prior to. And I do want to stress, going into future episodes, this is not the avenue for me to critique your teams. I did it this week because I opened the floor and said, give me characters. And then people gave me their teams. I was like, well, they kind of misunderstood the ask here. I'm going to start being mean about that pretty soon on this show, because I don't know. I just feel like people need to listen and read. So it's me being mean-spirited. I'm sorry. That said, thank you guys for watching in the live chat. Thank you guys for watching in the archive if you're watching there. I do want to thank the channel sponsors, of course, MajesticCCG.com. Checking them out at MajesticCCG.com/Apex-Insiders. $3 a month. Gets you brain dumps from the greats to the insane. Check it out. It's worth the prize of entry. And even if you're just dropping by the MajesticCCG.com site, occasionally you'll get tournament reports from tournaments that are pouring in. Yeah. And of course, want to thank all of our direct sponsors at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. Your direct support helps a lot. If you want to become a supporter, check us out. And any evaluation gets you access to the Discord and to our Patreon Hangout. Our next Patreon Hangout, of course, being September 9th. Would normally be Sunday, September 2nd, but the Labor Day holiday this weekend has us nice and busy, and I am planning on partying with some friends on Sunday. So with that said, thank you guys very much for taking another deep into the minds of madness. Have a good night, everybody.